Hello again.
Oh, I do hope this team meeting works better than this morning.
Me too, Gwen. Me too.
I don't want to miss a morsel.
Right?
Well, good morning, everybody. How are y'all doing?
Yay, doing great.
Hello, 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 KW Lone Tree. We're probably about 10 seconds too fast. It's 10:59. So let's get a few more people on today. Patricia, your Zoom background. I like that. I like that.
Yeah, it's pretty groovy.
It is pretty groovy. I'm going to assume you're home, or are you in the office today?
I am home today.
Okay.
Yep, I am home.
Cool. All right. Well, we are starting to fill up a little bit here as we kind of have a soft start. Wednesday, April 22nd. And we are joined today by a very special guest. This is the first time in my recollection that Damien has joined us for one of our team meetings, and we are thrilled to have you on today. I challenged everybody earlier in the week. I said, we've got to make sure this is worth your time. Let's come up with every question we can and see if we can stump Damien.
Well, fantastic. I always love it when people try to stump me. That works great. So, where do you want me to start? Anna, do you want me to start with kind of where we are and what's going on and what happened on Monday, or have you talked to people about that, or why don't you tell me?
Yeah, you know, we've been chatting about it. We sent out the memo that you shared with the leadership team. You know, I don't believe we've officially seen the safer from home order yet, right? That's not out. So, yeah, if you want to start there with what what you see there and how we can move forward in our business, just in case anybody missed it.
Sure. So guys, there's been a lot of stuff going on in the last several weeks. It started, I'll kind of summarize quickly. We had CARB went ahead and got you guys listed as critical businesses in the governor's order as far as real estate transactions. And then we got thrown a curveball a couple weeks ago when the Division of Real Estate, the Attorney General's office, and the governor's office decided that real estate transaction did not include showings, did not include open houses, did not include photography, did not include videography, did not include putting signs in, did not include buyer brokers going over and doing a virtual tour of the property, did not include listing brokers going over to the property, really ratcheted down the restrictions on what you guys could and couldn't do in this market. So that is the rules that we are currently under. That's the stay-at-home order. That is what the Attorney General's office has said is in bounds at this time. But the good news is that the stay-at-home order is scheduled to expire on April 26th. And at the governor's press conference on Monday, he said that, hey guys, just so you know, showings are going to be allowed come April 27th. So we haven't gotten the order around that. The governor is going to be issuing an order to say exactly what is in bounds at this point, but we do know it's going to be broader than the limitations we've been working under currently. I expect, in preparation for this, because he did put it on a slide, he did say it, I have no reason to believe he'd roll that back. I'm expecting that photography will probably be allowed, even though it wasn't specifically mentioned in his conference on Monday. I expect staging may or may not be allowed. I'm hoping it will be. Putting up signs will probably be allowed. And so even though those things weren't specifically mentioned, to me, those events are safer than anything else you could do as far as they're safer than showings. So in preparation, that's probably what's going to happen on Monday is you're going to be allowed to do those activities. I do want to warn you that, we've had these things taken away from us before. And the reason we had them taken away before is because we had some bad actors. So when you're getting prepared to start doing showings, whether you're listing the property or whether you're representing the buyers, we need to be prepared to start taking precautions, making sure that we're doing things that are safe within our industry. Probably requiring all buyers must wear masks. No more than just the buyers that are buying the property going and seeing the property. They should be bringing their extended family and kids and grandparents and their contractor friend and their aunts and uncles. It really needs to be limited. We don't know what the restrictions are going to be around this, but we can expect that they're still going to try and ensure that we have social distancing occurring. So for buyer brokers, I would make sure that you have hand sanitizer. You tell people wash their hands regularly. That you're when you're going into the houses, make sure that you're not touching as much, as minimal as you can. Don't take extra people with you. If you're a listing broker, you should have a cleaning station or something, a place for them to wash their hands when they come in. Hand sanitizer available. Tell your sellers to leave all the lights on. Tell them to leave all the doors open. Make sure that you aren't putting showings on top of each other. Tell people that if If they're going to show the property between 11 and 12, that means they have to show up between 11 and 12, not show up at 4 because they were running late. And tell them that you're going to have to reschedule. If you miss your window, reschedule, because we don't want people on top of each other. It's important that we remember what the intent of the order is. And the intent of the order is to stop the spread of the virus by contact. And so you guys are going to have to be good citizens and make sure that we're not abusing this privilege that we're being given, and that we're doing whatever we can to keep our social distancing in place and minimize that contact. So, Anna, what else you got for me?
Well, so we know that this conversation really got started when some agents received cease and desist letters from the Attorney General, right? As we've gone through this, have you seen of or heard of any additional instances over the past couple of weeks that agents have been cited, and what have they been cited for?
Yeah, there's a ton. So I'll tell you so a couple things. The one that hit the radar was because there was back at the beginning of April, there was a article that ran on 9 News as well as Colorado Public Radio that said the Attorney General is sending out cease and desist letters for people that have violated the order. And in that particular instance, and I feel bad for this guy, but because he wasn't the only one, but what he had done is he had told tenants they had to leave their property so that he could do an open house all day, even though they were experiencing COVID-19 symptoms. So you see why the Attorney General got really strict, really fast on what they were saying is inbounds and out of bounds. They're like, wait a minute, if you guys think that this is important enough to kick somebody out of their home when they're supposed to stay at home under the order, then we'll just take away a whole bunch of your rights. At least I don't know if that's their specific, in their minds, they said, oh no, that was always the interpretation. But you know as well as I do, we never would have had this problem if somebody hadn't taken it to an extreme. At that time, I know that there was another letter sent to somebody in El Paso County. I know that the Real Estate Commission was receiving complaints. And at the time, the Real Estate Commission was like, you know what, this isn't our job to interpret the order, so we're kind of hands off. Since then, there's been a whole change. Division of Real Estate issued guidance at the request of the Attorney General. The governor has given more advice in press conferences that have essentially said, well, inspections he believes were critical. He did not say showings were. But since then, the Division of Real Estate has also received a whole bunch of complaints. And the reason they're receiving the complaints is because we have the good actors out there like, okay, showings are off limits. We get it. We're not going to allow people to see our properties. We're not going to take buyers out to show properties, and are trying to act within the rules. And as I'm sure you guys are aware, there are a whole bunch of shenanigans going on with other people that think that, oh, well, you know, my favorite was this. Well, our attorney, we know that showings aren't allowed, but our attorney says it's defensible, so we're going to go ahead and do it anyways. Well, how do you think that makes brokers who are trying to do the right thing feel? You know, it's like, wait a minute, I'm trying to do the right thing, and you say, oh, because our attorney doesn't understand the rules, is going to go ahead and do it. So they're being turned in. I know that last week they opened 3 complaints. I know today they are opening a lot more. So they do their intakes on Wednesday. They assign out their complaints to the investigators. And my understanding is they are queued up with a whole bunch of people that have been turned in for violating the stay-at-home order. And so the Real Estate Commission is going to take action against those brokers. I also know the Attorney General has sent out letters to brokers. I know that the Attorney General has sent out letters to non-brokers for violating the stay-at-home order. So yeah, there is a lot of action on it. Now, as far as what will the discipline be, I have no idea. Will the Attorney General send cease and desist letters, or will they fine? I don't know. But at some point, they're going to start making examples of some people. Because if people are just going to thumb their nose at this order and say, oh, well, it doesn't apply to me, or, oh, well, our attorney says it's defendable, then they're going to say, okay, then defend it. And let's see what happens.
And Damien, we've got a couple of questions coming in the chat too. And this first is, you know, Denver County's stay-at-home order expires April 30th. What are the issues between, you know, the state order and the county orders if different counties have different rules?
Good question. So first of all, if the county order ratchets down what you can do or makes it more restrictive, then the county order is valid. So in other words, if Denver County were to say no showings, and even if the governor releases and says, okay, now you can do showings, the Denver order is in place. Now, if the Denver order, let's say that the state order said no showings and the Denver order says, oh no, that's fine, you can do those, the state order would take place. So the supremacy clause says that the counties can go ahead and make things more restrictive, but they can't make them less restrictive than what the state says. I don't know. So here's what happened. So all of those health departments, as well as Denver, imposed their orders, and they never were interpreted as to what that meant. They never said, does that include showings or not include showings? So I don't have any idea. You know, because the state order went in place like 2-3 days after those orders went in place. So whether or not their language they view as being a restriction on showings or not, I can't tell you, because I just don't know. Because nobody's actually interpreted it, and nobody said one way or the other. I do know places like Eagle County and Pitkin County, they've had, Eagle County had their health order redone. Pitkin County, the county attorney actually interpreted it and said, no, we believe that, you know, certain real estate activities are allowed, even though they weren't specifically referenced in the order. So it may come down to a city attorney or a county attorney interpreting it, or it may mean that they have to redo their orders. The plus side, because I really don't know what it means, but the plus side is most of those expire shortly after the state's order expires.
Yeah. Okay. Well, and other pieces of real estate business, like being able to meet either with your team or with clients one-on-one in a non-showing capacity, like say in the office. Do you have an interpretation of when that might be allowed based on?
So I don't know. We're going to get more parameters around what exactly is going to be allowed or not allowed. I expect that they're going to try and loosen up some of your marketing efforts so that you can put properties under contract. That's, you know, specifically showings, but I don't know what else that's going to include. So it's really going to, we're really going to know more once we see the order and we see exactly what it says. So I'd hate to speculate as to what exactly that's going to include at this point.
Yeah. Do you think that might include things like going back to in-person real estate trainings?
I don't think we're going to get to in-person real estate trainings. Right now, everything I've seen about the order when he talked about it was still limiting to 10 people congregating. So the whole intent here with the Safer at Home order is to continue social distancing. If you listen to his press conference, what the governor said is right now we're at about 80-85% social distancing. On the 27th, he still wants to see about 65% social distancing, which means that they're not trying to just release everything and say, okay, everybody go back to doing whatever you were doing before. This is really trying to still have social distancing, but at the same time, try and get our economy going a little bit. The things he talked about is hair salons will be open now as long as they take social distancing precautions. Dog groomers, which I didn't realize that was something, but tattoo artists, companies can open up and have 50% of their workforce come back. I mean, the reality is you can see the intent is really to try and open up some of our economy, try and get some dollars flowing, try and get some people back to work so that we don't just take a huge hit on our economy. But at the same time, they still do want social distancing. They're still encouraging telecommuting. They're still encouraging people to stay home when you can. My suggestion as far as in-person and all those is, guys, do as much as you can from home still. Assume that, you know, if you can do it from home, that's what you should be doing, because that's really what they're trying to get at. That's really how they're trying to reduce the spread of the virus. If you can't do it from home as far as showings or putting up signs, or, you know, you have a client that doesn't have email or doesn't have Zoom or any way that you have to go meet with them in order to list their property, then, you know, that my guess is that's going to be allowed. But they really still want you to do as much as you can virtually, because that still is the goal of these orders.
Awesome. Ricky asks if we can still do virtual open houses. Feels like this would still fall in line with the intent of the Safer at Home order.
No, Ricky, I can't tell you one way or the other. I think they said no open houses, but I'm sure what they were talking about was in-person stuff. My guess, without having the guidance from the order yet, without seeing what the order specifically says, my guess is that's going to fall in line because it still is meeting the intent of minimizing the amount of people that are going through a house, minimizing the amount of people that are in contact with the same surfaces or in contact with each other. So I would expect that to be allowed. In fact, I think that's even safer than some showings, of having a whole bunch of people going through a house that you have one set of buyers going in at 11, another set of buyers going in at 12, another set of buyers going in at 1. Having a virtual open house is safer. So to me, it's about common sense and working within the confines of what the order is trying to do. And I would expect that would be okay. But I hesitate to give you an affirmative answer until we've seen the order.
Good. Now, Damien, I kind of have a question based on, what you've shared with us over the past couple of weeks, and what I see happening with the agents is there's still a percentage of the population, even if we can see homes, are going to make the choice to buy a home sight unseen or with limited visibility, right? They're going to want to go to the property once. And how should we be advising our clients at that point, both our buyers and our sellers, if they're purchasing a property sight unseen?
Well, we have that language about the viewing inspection, and I still like it even in this world where a buyer's like, look, I got to buy a home. I have to have a place to live, but I'm not excited about going and seeing 6 properties. I want to make an offer on this one because I think it's the one I want to buy. And if it gets accepted, then I will go have potential contact with the seller. I think that viewing inspection still works. It still works in this world and it's still safe. Same with sellers. I would have that conversation. If you don't want a whole bunch of people training through your house, maybe, as Ricky said, we do a virtual open house, assuming we're allowed to under the order. Or maybe we accept an offer with a viewing inspection contingency so that we can limit the number of people that come through. Just because we're probably going to be allowed to do showings. It still could change, but I think we'll be allowed to do showings. The other way that we started doing business in the world we're in right now, it does work. And if buyers and sellers want to minimize the contact because the seller says, look, we're 75, we're 80 years old, we don't want a bunch of buyers coming through our home, there's nothing that says you can't say, seller is still refusing showings, send over offers, we'll take a viewing inspection instead, but we're going to do it limited because the sellers want to be safe. That still works, guys, and it still might be advisable in certain circumstances.
Our office is advising our agents to use the COVID-19 clause for every transaction right now. And we are definitely seeing that that's not the norm across the industry right now. When would you advise an agent to use that COVID-19 addendum, and how might you have that conversation with a co-op who doesn't want to present that to their clients?
Well, that's a great question. I'm glad you raised that because it's something we should talk about. So first of all, I want to give you some background about the COVID-19 addendum. So the COVID-19 addendum was created because CAR was not allowed to draft contract forms. Our statutes don't allow them to do it. And the Real Estate Commission could not act quickly enough. So CAR said, hey, Bar Association, we have this provision within the statutes that allows you to create forms for use by brokers. Would you please create something for us? CAR sent that notice over to the Bar Association on a Friday, and the Real Estate Section Council worked on it all weekend and actually had it approved by the bar on Tuesday for your guys' use. So I want you to keep in mind, I don't know who's picking on you there, Patricia, but I see a hand coming in and out. So anyways, they did it very, very fast. They created this form extremely fast to try and get something into the market to help you guys. Because it's a bar created form, guys, it is not required. It's not a Real Estate Commission approved form. It's Colorado Bar Association approved form. To me, so first of all, I think I had a lot to do with the drafting of it. You guys might have recognized it from the clauses I gave you before that it was very similar. I like the form, and I think it does a couple important things. But for the first clause says, and the first one is probably the most important, because the first clause says this. It says, hey, if there is a government shutdown or if a settlement service provider can't do things quick enough based on the fact of COVID-19, then either party can get an extension. And frankly, that's good for both the buyer and seller, because there's provisions in the contract, like if the county can't get you a tax certificate, then the seller might be in default because they couldn't provide a tax certificate on the record title deadline. Or they can't get the title commitment because the title company has shut down and they can't get title companies out on time. Okay, seller, you're in default because you couldn't deliver the title commitment. Or buyers, you're in default because you can't close, because your lender can't close. I mean, it's not a one-sided clause like I think a lot of people are thinking it is. It really does work for both of them. The second clause is what I call a quarantine clause. And what it is for mandatory quarantines, self-imposed quarantines, or stay-at-home orders. Because we're under a stay-at-home order now, come Monday, it might change, as far as whether we use that clause or not. But right now, I'm not sure I would use it, because if you check the box, then either party can give notice, and that means they get an automatic extension because we're already under stay-at-home. So checking the first box to me makes sense. Checking the second, maybe not. It just depends. But the whole point of that form is to be negotiable. And the dates that you put in there, the deadline you put in there, is really based on how long does the buyer have his lock. Maybe he can't afford to have this go out too long. Or maybe the seller needs to close sooner. Or maybe they can have it extended out 60 days. Whatever the time frame is, it's negotiable. But I'll tell you what the most important function of that form is. The most important function of that form is to start the dialogue with the other side. To have the conversation about the fact that we are in a strange world. We are in a world that we don't have any idea what curveball we're going to get tomorrow. Last week or 2 weeks ago, the Attorney General literally said in their hearing, no more inspections, no more walkthroughs. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine a poor buyer that can't do his own inspection and he's being told, well, just buy the property sight on scene, or just buy the property without knowing that it has a structural issue or a roofing issue? I mean, it was a ridiculous interpretation, but you see what I'm saying, that we get thrown these curveballs and we got to be able to deal with them. And the point of the COVID-19 addendum really is to, number one, talk about what happens if we get one of the curveballs that they could anticipate, because, it's not perfect form, but at least it anticipated some things. And number two, to set the expectation with both parties that we are in a world that the only way we're going to close transactions is if we remain open to the fact that we may need to negotiate solutions as we go. And that's the conversation you really need to be having with the other side of, okay, you don't want to use the COVID-19 addendum? That's fine. But if something comes up that my buyer can't perform because the lender couldn't close, or the lender had something happen because of COVID-19, you guys have to be willing to give us an extension. Just like we need to be willing to give you an extension if the title company can't produce a title commitment on time, or can't get us the tax certificate on time. Those are the things that it was anticipated to try and help you guys with. But I don't care if we use it or not, Anna. What I really care about is that we at least set the expectation both with the other side as well as our clients about the fact that we're in a weird world that is going to require some flexibility in order to get deals closed.
Yeah. Awesome. Ricky's wondering if you have an idea of when we might actually see the new order.
I have no idea. They like to spring things. My guess is 11 o'clock at night on Sunday, but because that seems to be what they think, apparently, that I have nothing better to do with my Sunday evenings than wait for an order so that I can interpret it for you guys quickly, because it goes into effect 6 hours later. But I don't know. I was hoping we might have it by the end of this week. I don't think this is going to be the 2-page order that we've seen in the past. I think it's going to be a lot lengthier as they try to spell out exactly what they want from people as far as social distancing and what's allowed and what's not allowed. So I think it's going to take a lot more work for them to create it. If we're lucky, we'll get it by the end of this week. If not, it'll be over the weekend. So
what kind of things might need to be on our radar right now that we might not be considering? Are there a lot of complaints or things that are coming across your desk that are unique to this time period?
Well, I'll tell you, the one that I see regularly is releases or questionnaires. Have you guys seen the questionnaires? I love these. So, and we're going to see more of these come Monday when we're doing showings. So what it is that there's this questionnaire. It's mostly up north, but the questionnaire says, oh, hey, buyer, and seller, you both have to fill this out. You acknowledge by signing below, you acknowledge that that you haven't tested positive for COVID-19. You don't have any symptoms of COVID-19. You haven't been around anybody that has COVID-19, and apparently you haven't traveled to Italy because apparently that still matters. Obviously Italy doesn't matter anymore, but in case you're wondering. I don't like the questionnaire. And the reason I don't like the questionnaire is because it gives buyers and sellers this false sense of security that by answering these questions, it means all of a sudden that they're safe. They're not safe. Okay, the questionnaire is to me kind of pointless. I mean, we have people that 1 in 4 people have COVID-19 and have 0 or mild symptoms and don't even realize they have it. And so this questionnaire sets up this expectation that a buyer and seller have that's like, okay, I'm safe to go in here and I don't have to take the precautions anymore because look, they answered all these questions. Isn't that wonderful? But they could still be spreading the virus and not even know it. More importantly, if you have a buyer that absolutely has to have a place to live, do you think they might kind of fudge whether or not they've had symptoms or whether or not they've been around people? Or if you have a seller that absolutely has to sell, do you think that they might say, well, you know, we'll just go ahead and say this is, yeah, we don't have any of these things, even though it might not be true? I don't like the forms because I think it sets a false sense of security. The other one I'm seeing is created by some lawyers. And I've seen one version. I know there's a couple more out there. I just haven't gotten my hands on them yet. But the one that I've seen goes like this. It says, okay, buyer, answer all these questions. And then it says, hey, buyer, by signing below, you release any claims you have against the listing broker if you contract COVID-19. Okay, so first of all, why didn't they protect the seller? Why is it only the listing broker that they're releasing? So I think that's a self-serving document to begin with, which is concerning to me. If you don't want liability for COVID-19, don't do business. It's that simple. I don't know what the claims are going to be. I have no idea who's going to get sued, what they're going to be sued for, what the claims are going to look like. But the safest way is just don't do business. But so first of all, I don't think the release is going to protect them. And then second of all, how do you tell a buyer it's okay to sign that? If you represent the buyer, oh, hey, don't worry, you're releasing liability against a listing broker for something that we have no idea what that liability looks like, but you're releasing it now. How do you tell a buyer that that's okay? So if you see those releases and they insist on them, a couple things. Number one, I tell my buyer he has to have a lawyer review it because it's waiving legal rights. And we can't advise you as to what those are, and we have no idea how effective it will be. But what we do know is that if you sign this, you might have recourse. And if we tell the buyers to sign it without telling them to go get a lawyer, then we could have a problem. So I want to warn you about that release language and stuff in those documents. I don't think they do them any good, but I think it's dangerous for you guys if you're letting your clients sign them without at least warning them this is dangerous. What else you got for me, Anna?
You know, one more quick question, and then if anybody else has a question, go ahead and get it in the chat now so that we can wrap up here with Damien. But if I have a buyer or seller who does have COVID-19 or suspects that they do I need to disclose that to the other side? What's my responsibility in that as an agent?
How do you not? How do you not? Okay, guys, I mean, COVID-19 is a real problem for some people. Now, granted, it's about 10% of the population that has real issues with it, but it doesn't alter the fact that it is a real problem. And if somebody says, first of all, as a broker, you don't have any duty to investigate as to whether somebody has it or doesn't have it. That's not your job. But if your seller tells you that they tested positive for COVID-19, or your buyer says, hey, we just tested positive for COVID-19, how do you not tell people that they came into contact with or that they will come into contact with? I don't see buyer, if a buyer has COVID-19, says they tested positive, still feel like looking at houses, they need to just stay home, period. In fact, I think the order is going to say that. So that to me is probably going to be a non-issue. For sellers that test positive, I think you're going to have that conversation with them about the fact that maybe we need to pull this off the market. And maybe we need to leave it. And I saw a question come in about HIPAA. HIPAA applies to medical professionals. It does not apply to real estate brokers. I would get permission from your client as far as disclosure because that's always the best policy. But HIPAA is not an issue here because we're not treating them. And frankly, they disclosed it to you when they told you they had it. So hopefully that helps. But yeah, anybody that has COVID or had it, even if you have a seller that says I had it and I got over it and I'm safe now, I'd still err on the side of disclosure just because it's a heightened awareness and a heightened concern. And the last thing you want is a buyer coming back who contracts it and says he got it because the seller had it before when it really was because he went to the grocery store.
Mm-hmm.
What else we got?
What about cleanings before a property transfer if somebody's had it or was exposed?
Well, I think that's a great idea. I don't know who we're going to get to clean them these days because the janitorial services for cleanings, at least under the stay-at-home order, is only effective for critical businesses, which a house I don't think is, or for commercial buildings. So I don't know. I mean, I think it's a great idea. I guess that's going to be a question for the buyer or seller as to who they want cleaning it. If I'm the buyer, I think I'd rather clean it myself or make sure I hire the person who's cleaning it myself than to take the risk that the seller didn't do a great job. But, you know, that's for the parties to decide.
All right. Last chance, guys. Type it in the chat or go ahead and unmute yourself quickly. I don't think we stumped him. I don't think we stumped you, Damien.
All right, guys. Well, it's an honor to be in business with you guys. And please remember, this is a real health issue. And please be safe and take precautions in your business if you're out there working. I really don't want to see this impacting at least any of my clients. So take the precautions you need and be safe out there.
Thank you so much for your time and joining us today.
Thanks.
All right,
Thanks,
bye, guys.
Damien. Thanks so much.
Awesome, guys. Reflections on that? How are you guys feeling? Are we still pretty excited for Monday? It feels like a small win, but a really big win. Yeah. Yeah. Good. Good, good, good. Let me pull this up here really quick. Sorry, guys. I am running on many screens and they're not all cooperating. Many screens, 2 screens, lots and lots of tabs. There we go. Well, let's talk about the market. I love this, 739 new listings, 1,184 closings. So we've been seeing a trend lately, right? A gigantic gap between properties coming on the market and going off of the market, which means our inventory is dwindling substantially. Now today I started tracking also, let me flip the page here and pull up the numbers, coming soon listings. So we have 158 coming soon listings in the MLS right now. And so show of hands, if you want to put it in the chat, you absolutely can. Who's got a listing coming up right now? Who's part of either the coming soon on the MLS or you have things that you know are coming soon? And was this by design? Have you been working this week on getting your sellers ready to go on the market next week or the week after because of the change? The probable change in the stay-at-home orders, right? After meeting with Damien here. Let's see if I can find the chat. I don't know. It's in one of the multiple windows I have open here. Here's what
Do you
I've
want me
got.
to read them for you?
Oh, I just have to stop sharing and look at everybody's pretty face so that I can find it again, which is lovely. Hi, guys. So much eye contact. I love it. Thank you for having your cameras on, by the way. I so appreciate that. I get to, voyeur into some of your offices, which is awesome. Some of you have really, really cool Zoom game, right? Carrie, I like to be where you're at. That looks fantastic, right? Oh goodness, this is a lot of fun. Michael's getting some fresh air. Angela's outside. I love it, guys. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So Angie, you've got listings coming up. It wasn't by design. It's just how the timing worked out. Clinton's got a couple coming up. Michael's got one coming up. Cool. Look at that. So you guys have been busy. That's so weird. I thought we weren't allowed to do business the last couple of weeks. What have you been up to? You've been making your phone calls and hustling? Yeah. You've been working with buyers and sellers despite our stay-at-home order because there's still a clear path to getting to the closing table? Yeah. See? Who you're in business with matters, and this is super awesome. Hey, look at that possible luxury listing in Pradera. Go get it, Clinton. It is yours. Sweet, sweet, sweet. Cool. We have some other things coming up also. Stan, since you're on today, do you have any updates in the mortgage world for us? If you didn't meet Stan last week, Stan is with Nations Lending, and once you make it back into the office, which I'm hoping we'll get to do soon, right? You can find him right across from my office.
Yeah, hello everybody. No huge changes since I talked last week. Can you hear me better? I tried a new microphone, so last week nobody could hear me, so perfect. No really big changes. I mean, I just keep beating the same drum as you're out meeting with any potential buyers. This forbearance thing is just beating up the industry. So a lot of buyers might ask you for your opinion on first payment forbearance rules. Technically, they can get a forbearance even on their very first payment through their third or fourth payment, depending on who the loan goes through. It's not a forgiveness. It's not going away. They're going to have to come up with that money, at the beginning of month 4, or maybe they'll get it tacked onto the back end. It's still really unclear, as a lot of you guys that were in the business back in 2008, 2009, how the back end, the servicing people are going to be reporting this. Is it going to go on as late payments? Is it going to go on as a forgiveness or a write-off in some form? It's still kind of out there as a cloud. So I'm just advising, try to convince people that it's not in their best interest. It's not going to go away. It's not going to make the payment go away. They're going to owe that money. As far as just straightforward lending goes, there's still very little or no jumbo product out there. There's a couple I think are going to come back online Monday. There's going to be some changes going on there, so we should be able to get back into some jumbo stuff. I know I've been working through a variety of doing firsts and seconds, combined loans, trying to help my clients with jumbo stuff, and we've gotten a couple things pretty successfully done that way. For the jumbo stuff, most of the non-QM stuff kind of went away and is now making its way back onto the market. So we'll be able to do some self-employment stuff and bank statement stuff, and then just your straightforward FHA, conventional VA. My company never instituted any overlays, so we can still do credit challenge stuff down to 580. It's going to be a little bit expensive on the rate, but we can do it. We never put any overlays for credit scores. And all the CHAPA stuff and Metro DPA stuff is still available. They didn't cut off any of that funding. So we can also do a lot of down payment assistance stuff for you guys.
That's awesome. A lot of options. We know that some of our people have felt like they wanted to wait, right? We've heard buyers and sellers saying, I want to wait until, and they all kind of have a different idea of until, right? And so for a lot of people, until might be next week when we can start seeing property in person again. Stan, what neighborhood are rates in right now?
Probably, I mean, you know, that's a loaded question always, but I would say for, you know, your highly qualified buyers, we can still probably get them into the threes. For people that are credit challenged, it's going to be higher than that, obviously. One of the things that's just blowing me away right now is the down payment assistance programs. I think Chaff is doing with down payment assistance, they're at like well, I think it was 3.75 this morning. Which that just blows me away that someone can get their hands on that down payment assistance and be under 4. So, yeah, you know, everyone, it's a loaded question because everyone's individually judged, but pretty aggressive still.
Awesome. Stable-ish for the time, or are you seeing some volatility in them?
I think so. The Fed was buying mortgage-backed securities to the tune of about $20 million a day. Up through the beginning of last week. So we saw a real flattening of the mortgage-backed securities, and they were just jumping up and down in these humongous swings, kind of like the stock market has been. They started buying into that at about $20 million a day, and I think last Thursday they dropped to 12, and Friday they went down to 8, and I think yesterday they did 8. So they're finding that they can kind of keep the mortgage-backed securities rate leveled out with a lot less interference, which is opening that back up into private investors, which is rates are going to kind of inch up a little bit in 2 weeks ago.
I missed the very end of that. Rates are going to jump up. What?
Well, I didn't say jump. They're gonna inch up a little bit.
Oh, inch up. Okay.
Yeah, over the next, you know, I don't know, 2 to 6 months, I think we're going to see a little bit higher rates. They're not going to stay as low as what they were right before, you know, the COVID crisis happened and some of this liquidity stuff. The unknown is what's going to happen, right, with this unemployment rate. You know, if we truly do see this 25-30% unemployment rate and we start to see more default and more forbearance, well, projections go out the window, right? They'll start pricing in that risk real quickly and rates could rise. But right now, most of the people that I follow are saying that we'll probably be within a quarter point of where we're at now for the foreseeable future.
Awesome. And Stan, if you have a minute again, will you throw your contact information in the chat just so everybody has it, as I'm sure we're introducing you to some of our agents for the first time?
Absolutely. I'll type it in right now.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, we are coming up upon the month of May. And here at Keller Williams, we celebrate the second Thursday of every May through a tradition we call Red Day. I am so pleased to announce that this year, KWRI leadership has made the decision to move forward with Red Day. And so we will still be hosting Red Day in just a few weeks here on May 14th. And not only that, Mo has asked us to make this the biggest Red Day ever. And so we've been working diligently between the ALC and the Red Day committee at putting together some plans. Michael's going to share with us in just a minute here what we've been able to put together. But, you know, not everybody's been here for an extended period of time. So I want to share with you what is Red Day. So here's a little bit about it.
Each year on the second Thursday of May, associates celebrate Mo Anderson's birthday by spending the day away from the businesses and serving the worthy organizations and causes in their communities. Rebuilding homes, refurbishing local parks, taking to local food shelters, hosting blood drives, and so much more. Red Day is just another example of our commitment to each other and to the cities and towns where we live and work. With your help, a single day can make a world of difference.
I love this. So let's talk a little bit about Red Day. And I'd love to introduce you all to our Culture Committee Chair who runs the Red Day Committee here at our office, Mr. Michael Lee.
Hi, everybody. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
So we're working with C-Corps this year. For those of you that don't know C-Corps is a food bank located in Parker, but they don't service only Parker. They service surrounding counties and so forth. Cool thing about C-Corps is they, on $96 a month, $96, they can feed a family of 4 for a whole month, which I think is pretty impressive. So what we're putting together is we're gonna see what kind of volunteer opportunities available at C-Corps for those who actually want to go do some hands-on volunteering. For those that don't want to do any hands-on volunteering, then we're putting together virtual bingo. So you can get all of your clients, invite all of your clients, they can join in. What we'll do is every participant is gonna need an email address and we're gonna email them their bingo cards. We're gonna do 10 games. So what we're looking for is 10 sponsors. If we can get 10 sponsors, each sponsorship is $500. We can get $5,000 raised for C-Corps, so that should benefit a lot of families. We're looking to do it May 14th, probably 4 to 7 time frame. And it's all done virtually. We've got it's similar to a Zoom room. It's through Google. It's called a Meet room. So everybody will join onto the Meet, and families can have their kids play, and we can play virtual bingo. We'll have prizes and so forth that we're putting together. So people can win laptops, iPads, TVs, stuff like that. Any questions on that?
So everyone needs their own email address, including the kids.
Yeah, so we can send them their own bingo cards.
Or
Perfect.
could one family buy like 4 bingo cards and just give one to mom, give one to dad, give one to kids?
No, because the system that we're using is the bingo cards each have their own ID. So when somebody calls bingo, we can ask for that ID card and then validate that ID card through the system. So if I emailed, let's say, Anna, I emailed you 10 bingo cards and then you distributed your bingo cards to your family, if they got bingo and they validated that bingo ID card, it's probably not a card that the system was using and it wouldn't show up, right?
Interesting. Okay.
So, yeah,
So
I mean,
Michael, does that,
I just make like a quick Yahoo email or Gmail for the kids or something real quick.
does that mean that the family can only do one bingo card?
No, so let's say you had a family of 4, right? So we've put together kwltredday.com, and then agents, we're putting together a flyer so agents can push that flyer out to their clients. Their clients can go to kwltredday.com and sign up, and in there that family can sign up and they'll list all their email addresses. So you could have a family of 4, each will get their own card. So each player will get 10 individual cards.
Oh, okay. I missed that part. Thank you.
Yeah. We're also, we're also collecting donations. So your clients can make a donation through the Eventbrite sign up. So if they sign up on the Eventbrite, they can make a donation there. Or the office has also set up a PayPal account. So, your clients can go to paypal.me/KWLT. This information will be on the flyer as well. And they can make donations to play as well. Donations are optional. You're not obligated to donate to play, but obviously we're looking to raise money for C-Corps.
So Michael, anyone can donate. Donations are not required. And then we are still looking for sponsors for this.
Right.
For advertising purposes. And then the sponsorship is $500.
Right.
Perfect.
And, so the way we're going to get sponsors involved is obviously when you play bingo, you've got a bingo caller. So that sponsor, can take a few minutes, say, hey, this is Stan with, you said Nations Lending. Is that what the name of your mortgage company? So Stan can say, I'm your local lender, so on and so forth. We're here to help you with all your real estate financing needs and so forth. And then they can jump into the game and he can start calling out the game, and then, we'll just rotate sponsors. So we can get 10 sponsors. We'll have 10 games. So each sponsor will have an opportunity to pitch themselves and then interact with with our agents and our guests and clients and call out the bingo game.
Michael, there will be a prize for every game as well, right?
Correct. Yep. There's going to be whoever wins bingo at each game, we're going to have a prize. And I was also talking to Anna, in addition to, sponsoring that bingo game, then you can also, we're putting something together where that sponsor can be the office's vendor for the month. So, we're putting that program together. They can come to trainings and stuff like that as well.
Yeah. And so seeing as though we aren't doing face-to-face team meetings or trainings anymore, we realize that there's been a missed opportunity to introduce you guys to valuable vendors for your business. Clearly they can't buy us lunch right now. So what we're rolling out next month is a program where our vendor partners can pick a month for sponsorship in the office. And they'll get to promote their business on our Facebook page. They'll get honorable mentions inside of team meetings. They'll get a guest pass for all of our trainings that month so that they can build their business just like we're building ours. And a couple of other things in that. So anybody who signs up to be a sponsor for Red Day will automatically get a month of sponsorship for the office, and they get to choose the month that they want to sponsor. So it gives them some additional exposure and opportunities to create relationships with all of us as well, and all of those pieces. So.
Yep. And we're also doing Red Day t-shirts. So keep an eye out for those announcements. So those that want a Red Day t-shirt for this year, keep an eye out, and we'll get you a shirt as well.
Absolutely. And so that would be the idea, is that we're showing up on, I'm going to see everybody's face again since we're talking face to face. That would be the idea, since we're showing up on something that's really similar to this, is that we're showing up with our Red Day t-shirt and really promoting that opportunity, and being able to have some visibility around those red shirts. Like Michael said, we're working on a daytime opportunity right now as well for people who feel comfortable with or would like to volunteer out in the community, and we're looking at exactly what that could look like, wearing our Red Day t-shirts as well. If you have one from previous years, you don't need a new one. You can just wear those. They're generic. So that same red t-shirt can work, every single year. However, we will have some communication. We probably need to know by Friday how many we have to order so we can get them on time. So look for that from Patricia, probably coming in emails and Facebooks and all of those places, so that we can make sure we get shirts ordered for Red Day and for this awesome fundraising opportunity.
Anna?
Mm-hmm.
I will be sending out the email today. It comes from Google survey. So answer by Friday, like Anna said. If it's not filled out by Friday, I will place in the order, and we'll have to figure out how to get you a Red Day t-shirt. However, please fill out the form by Friday, 10 a.m., please. Thank you.
Awesome. So Michael, I know you said we're going to have a flyer out and all of those details. And Heidi, I'm so sorry that I misunderstood there. I thought the sponsors could call bingo. Turns out they can't call bingo. So so we'll get some clarity on exactly what that looks like. But you guys are putting together some promotional material that we can all use. Is that right?
Right. Yeah. So we're putting together a KW Lone Tree flyer that agents can use to distribute out to their clients. We're also putting together a vendor flyer version. So agents, if you have home inspectors, lenders, insurance agents, contractors, anybody that we do business with that would be interested in participating in the sponsorship, we'll have a flyer for the vendors as well.
Very cool. So when do you think we're going to see those?
I'm hoping to have the flyers done by Friday.
Okay, very cool. So in the meantime, here's a few things you can do. The first thing I want you to do is pull out your calendar or open your phone or open your Google Calendar or your iCal or wherever you do it. And I want you to put a big red X through Thursday the 14th. The spirit behind Red Day is that we close our businesses and we give where we live. Even if you aren't comfortable participating in the daytime activity that we have arranged, or for whatever reason you're not able to participate in our bingo fundraiser from 4 to 7 on the 14th, do something for your community, even if it's taking a walk with your family, delivering groceries for those in need, donating blood, doing something to be a service of the community, and take the day to do that. But we'd love to have you join us for some of the market center sponsored activities so that we're participating as a group and we're making a huge impact as a family. So that's your first step. Next, take a look at how you can get your people involved with Red Day, because you may or may not know this, but your clients will love to have an invitation to, first of all, do something fun with their families. And people love to have an opportunity to give back. Now, our daytime event will likely not be open to having our clients attend. It's going to be, we've got to keep this as a small group, so it'll only be open to agents inside of the office. But this bingo event is open for all of your clients, anyone who you'd like to invite, and people do love to have an opportunity to give back to the community, especially once you learn a little more. And I think next week in the team meeting, maybe we'll spotlight C-Corps a little bit so you can hear a little more about their organization, because it's really a phenomenal practice that they have in helping to get people back on their feet and to help deal with food insecurity and those issues here in the South Metro Denver area. Think about the ways that you can create some excitement and some engagement with your people on this. Could it be a Facebook event? Could you be doing some marketing around that? Could this be the subject of your care calls for the next couple of weeks? How can you be getting others involved? So start putting those pieces together. You don't necessarily have to wait for all of the details and all of the flyers to come out this week. You could simply start that conversation by, hey, on the 14th of May, I'm closing my business to give back to the community. Here's the organization that that we're going to be benefiting. And I just want you to save the date because we're putting together a really fun fundraiser and I'd love to invite you. So it's an easy conversation that comes from contribution, and it helps get people together for a united cause. And I think together we can do some big things to help this phenomenal organization. C-Corps was the beneficiary of our Red Day activities last year as well. We moved some tons of food for them. I don't even know how many. I don't know what the official count is. And we raised more than $7,500 to help them. And like Michael said, they can feed a family of 4 with like next to nothing, right? It's amazing. It's amazing how many families we can support with what seems like such a small amount of money, but that $7,500 went a very, very long way. And I know we can max that this year, and we can definitely top that number. So, so here's what we've got for you. You're going to see some more things coming out, probably in the daily email, or maybe even in some additional communications over the next several days as we ramp up what we're doing for Red Day, Save the date on your calendar. Make sure you start having those conversations now. Cole, Angela's bringing her sphere on a walk, and then they're going on bingo. That's awesome. Go clean up the neighborhood.
They're going on their own walks.
They're going on their own walk.
They're all going on their own walks
They're
with their
all
own
going on
trash
their own
bags
walk.
in a red shirt. Yes.
I
Social
love it.
distancing.
I love it. That's so phenomenal, and it's so creative. So let's hit the Facebook page too. We're going to start a series of posts there about Red Day. Tell us what you're doing. If you're going to participate in these events, how are you advertising it? How are you promoting it? Let's mastermind. We are better together. Somebody may have a great idea that really moves you forward, or may help you flesh out an idea if you're thinking about doing something fun. So let's mastermind around it together. And if you're doing something outside of these activities, share what it is you're doing, so that we can support you and the rest of our KW family. On that note, it is 12 o'clock. I can't wait to see you all in person, right? Me and Amy Bell, we're just gonna run around hugging everybody. It's gonna be perfect. But not right away, not for a very long time. We'll be giving you 6-foot hugs. So on that note, air hugs, guys. You are the greatest group of realtors in the state, in the country, in the world, and I am honored to be in business with you. Now go out and take action today. We will see you at the huddle tomorrow morning. Bye, guys.